Okay, Space and Rocket Review, June 3rd, 2026. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Babyface EJ, as opposed to regular EJ. Hi. Here's an idea. Use a burner to call the number and tell them you want to renew your vehicle warranty. Yeah, that's funny to me, dude. Yeah, they said it's the Massachusetts DMV. We don't. It's not called the DMV here. It's the Registry of Motor Vehicles. I think that's funny. I'm sorry, that makes me laugh. Like you can't. You're not even putting in effort to your own stupid scam, dude. So for YouTube, for context, I just got a text message from, and I have to keep my phone off silent just in case Bree needs me. Uh, I got a text from the Massachusetts Department of Motor Vehicles, which doesn't exist, and it's coming from the Philippines. So really highly doubt that my state outsources its RMV stuff, calls it a wrong name, outsources it to the Philippines and calls it a wrong name. I'm just saying. Yo, I'm new. What's this series Rocket Review containing rocket news? So Raptor Man, the Space and Rocket Review is usually it's a usually 2 to 3 hour kind of show that I do here talking about what's going on in the spaceflight industry. Um, who am I to say what's going on in the space flight industry? I've been doing spaceflight journalism for about 15 years. I play STEM games on Twitch and now on YouTube. I play Kerbal. I play a bunch of other stuff. I follow very closely most high high profile space programs around the world, etc., etc. Yeah, just basically a big space nut. I'm EJ, by the way. Hello. You can ask me questions or talk to me anytime during these shows. My Space and Rocket reviews are very much an open discussion. So yeah, talk to me, Goose. 15 years, that's nuts. It's almost 15 years. It's not exactly, I round up. But I started doing this, streaming and doing like spaceflight outreach and STEM education in December of 2012. Yeah. So we got about 14 years. It's more like 13 and a half, but still. Hi, Mars. I'm EJ. How bad is it to ignore jury duty? Just got to the letter. Okay. Baron, you want to get out of jury duty, show up to the summons. Don't skip it, because then you'll get a bail bondsman coming to your house. Don't do that. Well, not a bail bondsman. Yeah, don't skip it. Go show up. Here's the secret to jury duty. You go there. Whatever your state's, like if you're in the US, you have to serve jury duty. It's your duty as a citizen, even though we all pay taxes. Weird. That's another topic of discussion for another day though. So go there, whatever state you're in, whatever the majority political view is in your state, say the opposite. You want to know a really easy way to get out of jury duty in Massachusetts? Say you like the president. They'll immediately throw you out. Or if you're down south, just say you like Pride Month or something, and they'll be like, and they'll just kick you out. Just say the opposite of whatever the mainstream political opinion is in your state. You don't have to agree or disagree with it, and boom, there you go. Don't ever have to do it again. You know, just say whatever the opposite is, dude. Or just get a doctor's note, sure. Uh, so I think that on the flip side of that, jury duty is actually pretty cool. Like the flip side of that, jury duty's neat. It's actually fun. I've done it. I've been a juror on a narcotics trafficking case in Boston. I can't say anything else about that, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's cool to see the whole process play out, right? And not play out when you know, it's fun to watch from the jury. It's not fun to be a part of that. Like you're kind of a spectator. Was it Maduro? No. No. Oh, that's a shame, Hellfish. Yeah, being a juror, you have to be very analytical. So when I did, dude, I went court stenographer on every every witness, every character witness, what the prosecution, what the defense said. I filled up a notebook with profiles on every single person that spoke in that court, giving testimony or statements or whatever. And the lady next to me was like when I was just writing everything down and listening and writing everything down, and I filled up notes, like pages and pages of freaking just testimony on everything, what every cop was saying, what they were, what, if they were excited about it, if they were annoyed, like every single freaking thing. And the lady next to me was like, you must have been a really good student. And me, deadpan, being this was a long time ago. This was, I think, 2013. Me, deadpan, look back at the lady and goes, I actually got D's and F's. Not just completely missing the compliment. I completely missed it. Like, dude, not like pure socially awkward moment. I wasn't always as good as talking with people as I am now. I was like, yeah, I actually did really bad. Like, dude, what? Shut the frick up. But when we deliberated, right? When we deliberated, my notes came in super freaking handy because people were like, what did this person say? And I'm like, and yeah, to this day, I still write stuff down. And not from jury duty. Writing stuff down is nice. Writing something down is a good way to hard code it into your head. You don't forget stuff that you write down for some reason because you have to put the thought in to put it on paper. I know it's strange, but yeah. How long did the guy get? I don't know if I can talk about this part. I'm not making this up. We deliberated. We finished deliberation. The guy was guilty as hell. They found a bunch of drugs in behind the glove compartment on his car. And this guy was definitely connected. I don't remember his name. I don't want to say nothing about it. Like, he was definitely connected because when we came back, the judge was like, yeah, normally you'd be here for the sentencing, but yeah, the perp actually ran out of the courthouse and had a getaway car waiting on the front of the courtyard steps. And yeah, don't worry, police will go find him. You're free to go. I'm not kidding. Swear on my mother that happened. Yeah. Did they find him? You know what, dude? I don't know. I just got in my car and left. I'm like, I do not want to be here anymore. I am out. I got in the Mustang and bolted. I'm like, nope. I'm gone. I'm gone. You'll never see me again. Like, dude, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Yeah, no. Jury duty is fun, man. It's pretty cool. Except for that last part. That last part sucked. Not dude, I swear that happened. I was like, okay. And I know you can get stenographer readbacks if you need to. The whole point is that the whole point of writing it down, like I said, was to understand. I did it to try and understand what the, like, recreate the crime scene in my head. And that helped me visualize what happened and help prove a verdict. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Do you have AMD or Intel? I have a 2 PC setup. One's encoding, the other is a gaming PC. My gaming PC has an AMD, and my encoding PC has an Intel. I think I have an 8700K in my encoding PC and a 9950X3D in my gaming PC. Yeah. That wasn't frightening at all. Is anybody following me home? I'm just like, dude, all I could think of was like, dude, if that guy made any of the jurors, we're kind of screwed. Because we voted unanimous guilty. Like, I'm like, that's why I got in my car and bolted. Like, I was like, I'm getting the frick out of here. I'm never coming to this part of town ever again. Like, that's one expensive CPU. Chad actually tipped the stream for it, dude. Talking about Ferrari, have you seen the news that Leclerc renewed his contract in red? Cool. Yeah, that was a little scary, that last part. But yeah, honestly, other than that, jury duty is really cool. It's cool to see the process, and I honestly think everybody should do it once. If you get on a federal case, if you get jury duty for a federal case, you never have to do it again. Our system here is kind of funny. In Mexico, I got a postcard. I have less than 10 days to scan the QR code and fill out my info on the core website. If I don't, I get a $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail. Did you get paid for jury duty? You do not get paid for jury duty, but your work you have to get paid time off. Yeah. If you get selected for jury duty, so like I was working at Best Buy at the time, they had to give me the days off paid. 8 hours. Yeah. That's kind of cool. But yeah, if you serve on a federal trial in the United States, so like at the federal level, so that like a Department of Justice, a DOJ case, yeah, you never have to do jury duty again. Ooh. Okay. Why? Federal cases are very high profile, Flavia, especially in the United States. Yeah, they're just real high profile. Creeper, you got the summons once, I think twice. When I called the night before, my number wasn't picked. Yeah, in Massachusetts, I mean, keep in mind this was a long time ago. I had to show up. You had to show up at a pool, and the lawyers, the defendant and the prosecutor for the case, pick you. You get picked. That they're going to cross-examine you as a juror to make sure that you're not biased. That's why I say something biased. So you could get away just with, you know, as long as you're cool with it, like you fly some crazy political symbol or something and people will immediately, you know, count you as biased towards their case, then you'll get excused. Is she okay? Go if you need to. Yeah, no, that wasn't Bree. T-minus 6 days till the Artemis 3 crew, and with SRBs rolling out, Artemis 3 looks to be back on track. Yep. It looks like the Roman telescope has a net launch date of August 30th. Yeah. And Trey, did I see that right? You have your proposal for your LOX hybrid went well. Hopefully the club leadership goes with it for one of the rockets this year. Do it, man. Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah, not do it. It's not your thing. Yeah, Fluffy, it's not great. It's not great. Yeah, just say cops don't lie or something. But yeah, with the politics stuff, it's really easy to get away with it because they will not let you on a jury if they think you're biased. You have to be unbiased, right? And you can say stuff, but see, part of me was like, dude, you know what? I don't feel like working in the warehouse for a week. Screw it. I texted my boss. I got put on jury duty. Sorry. Like, I got selected. I tried to get out of it. It didn't work. And he was like, bro. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. And he's like, all right, whatever. I'll see you in a week. I'm like, okay, bye. Bye. So, yeah, if you do get selected, it's not the end of the world. You're like, it is fun, and you can get excused from work. Honk, honk. Is that Lockheed TriStar launch happening soon? Pegasus mission for Catalyst Space. Yes. I'm not saying, hey, you could just say your political opinions, Flask, but yeah, I think everybody should go through jury duty if you really want. Like, everybody should do it once. It's good to see the judiciary process from the outside looking in when you're not involved in it. That way, if you ever do get there, you know what to do. Also, get a lawyer. It's actually easier to get off on a medical condition. Yeah. Based on critical work. Courts see people trying to get out all the time. You're not going to fool anyone with the one-liners. I saw a guy in front of me do it. Actually, and once again, I swear I'm not making this up. The guy in front of me praised a certain German from the 1930s and 40s to get out of jury duty. And I'm like, they're like, get out of here. And I'm like, okay. Wait, what the frick just happened? I'm not, dude, that happened. It was very weird. And then, like, that happened, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Von Braun, yeah. For the records, he was Austrian. What was he dictator of? Oh, yeah, okay. But yeah, you get the idea. We're not going to split hairs there. I don't know if you believe me. We already talked about a bunch of fun stuff that is not space. So yeah, if you want to do jury duty, do it. It's cool. It's a fun time. Your work has to pay you. They won't make you like have sick days. But the thing about jury duty is that, look, it might not be a week. It might be a month. It depends. It depends on how complicated the case was. Ours was pretty cut and dry. Like, so it only took a week. But yeah, my notes were clutch. Yeah. Guy was driving around a Chevy Lumina with a non-insignificant amount of cocaine behind the glove compartment. I'm like, dude, that's like 2 keys. Oh, you're kind of boned, dude. Sorry. Like this, like kind of stuff you see like in the movies and stuff. I'm like, holy sh. I was like, that's like 50 grand worth of narcotics on the evidence table over there. Huh. Okay. He didn't go for a plea deal. No, the defendant, the defense lawyer tried to say something about how he was being profiled, but like the cops, so this is before body cams. The cops took pictures of everything, dude. Whoever worked this case, whoever was working narcotics, I don't remember the dude's name. Whoever was working narcotics, he knew to take pictures of everything as it was going down. It was a detective, and he must have been working a ring. They got him when he was moving stuff, when he was moving product. It happens. Like, but yeah, those detectives did a damn good job because they were taking pictures every step of the way. They called in the canine dog. They showed a picture of the dog on the scene with the car and everything. Like, yeah, no, whoever that detective was no, maybe had a little bit of the tisms. Like, everything was so well documented. I'm like, huh. Oh, I'm just going to write all my notes about this. Yeah, all right. I actually made it a note that the detective took notes of everything. And I don't think that ever came up, but yeah. Is one of your 100 monitors all LED? I don't know. You want to play rough? Okay. He went for a flea deal. Yeah, guy bolted out of the courtroom. Getaway car waiting out front. Definitely hooked up, dude. That guy was definitely connected. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, oh, nope, gotta leave. Yep. Oh, I'm out. Later. You'll never see me again. Bye. Hey, Sad, what's going on? Speaking of space news, NASA declared Maven dead, apparently. No, they got it back yesterday, Ivo. Yeah, my buddy who's a big satellite guy was telling me about that. Did you keep the notes? You're not allowed to, Akimi Dog. You're not allowed to. The notes need to be submitted as, not submitted as evidence. That's not the right words. They need to be turned in as part of the closing out the case. A court records for the trial. So my notes are probably sitting in a file cabinet somewhere, dude. And I wrote down everything, because the other reason why I wrote down everything is because I've seen 12 Angry Men, and the hell with that, dude. Somebody tried to do that. They're like, this guy is innocent. I'm like, no, he is not. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, right here. Like, Maven is dead. Ah, that sucks. The guy was sentenced. I don't remember what the sentencing was. I don't remember, dude. I just remember he ran out of the courtroom. I was like, all right. All right. Yeah, 12 Angry Men. Great film. Even better book. Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's jump into space news. Sorry about the little tangent. But yeah, you should do jury duty. I mean, if you need to get out of it, you need to get out of it. But you shouldn't lie there either, right? It is fun. It's cool. It's like watching My Cousin Vinny. It's great. Would I do it again? No. I only needed to do it once. Kind of makes you want to be a lawyer, though, which is kind of weird. But all right, flipping the page. NASA says farewell to Maven. Mars mission hosts media call today. Maven is a Martian atmospheric probe, or was. The first mission devoted to observing the Martian atmosphere and its evolution. NASA's Maven, Mars atmosphere and volatile evolution, has ended after more than 11 years in orbit at Mars and a decade beyond its primary one-year mission. You really giving jury advice to the Ute? To what? What is a Ute? You have any hot Italian gals on the stand talking about cars? Bro. Marissa Tomei, though. Talking about pause attraction. Nice. 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 The spacecraft was last heard on December 6th when it experienced an unexpected loss of signal after it passed behind the red planet. I remember now. We reported on this. Guys, I think something hit it. MMOD, a micrometeorite, pegged the satellite and broke it. I'm pretty sure. NASA will host a media teleconference at 2 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, June 3rd. Whoops. To discuss Maven achievements. The agency convened an anomaly review board in February to evaluate recovery efforts and assess the Maven spacecraft probable current state. Not portable. The review board has determined that the Maven spacecraft is not recoverable and it is no longer capable of performing its science data and relay mission, which is consistent with the mission team's findings. Marvin shot it down. Yes, he shot it down with the P-18 modulator. Telemetry from Maven prior to the spacecraft's passage behind Mars in December showed all subsystems working normally. After the spacecraft emerged, NASA's Deep Space Network did not observe a signal. A brief fragment of telemetry data from the analysis of radio signals recorded by the DSN's open-loop receivers indicated the spacecraft was in safe mode and rotating at an unusually high rate when it emerged from behind Mars, indicating a disruption in Maven's orbit trajectory. The review board concluded that due to its rotation, the batteries on the spacecraft had drained, causing the communication system to lose power and rendering Maven in an unrecoverable state. These preliminary findings do not address a potential root cause for the anomaly, which is still being investigated. Something hit it or it sprung a leak. I highly doubt that it would spring a leak after 11 years just for no reason. Something hit it. Yeah, it has to be proven out, guys, but what else could that be? Don't say aliens, I'll slap you. I will slap you. Okay, don't say aliens, man. Aliens zapped it so they could land. The review board is expected to provide its final report later this year. NASA has begun the official process of decommissioning the Maven mission, following standard procedures to achieve the full mission data set for science and exploration communities. The science Maven has given us is key to informing what kind of radiation protection and safety measures we must take before sending humans to Mars, said Louise Proctor, director of the Planetary Science Division at NASA headquarters in Washington. The data collected from Maven will continue to provide valuable insight into Mars for decades to come. Yeah, Maven was observing Mars's atmosphere, but I think, I don't know if they'll say it, but Maven is, or was, a really helpful in relay communications from the Deep Space Network. Maven was being used also as a relay satellite. It did have relay capability. Now, why do you need relay capability on Mars? We have rovers down there. Curiosity, Perseverance. Well, Insight for a while. Insight's long gone at this point. Yeah. Dust on the battery, or on the solar panels. Did not like that. Looking fresh today. Thank you, Zelios. I think we'll keep it like this for the summer, dude. I like this. It's nice. It's nice. You don't have to do anything, because I was sweating in the garage yesterday, and I even had stubble, and I'm just like, the hell with this. Every dude my age has a freaking beard. I'm gonna buck that trend. Let's do something different. So yeah, just going back to Maven. Maven was being used as a relay. So now, not that there wasn't before, but there's probably going to be more communications blackouts with Perseverance and Curiosity, and that's fine. That's okay. They'll be fine. They're nuclear powered. They have a plutonium radioisotope thermoelectric generator in them. Both of them do. It's good for 50 years. They have not been up there for 50 years. So, it missed a turn in Albuquerque. That's right. It did. Took a right. Should have taken a left at Albuquerque. That's just asking for chin sunburn. Put on sunscreen, bro. Or chin, don't give me chin sunburn. I have to put, you know what's bad? You know what sucks about getting old? One of the things, I have to put sunscreen on the top of my head. Because my hair is not thick enough up there to block it. So if I don't put sunscreen on the top of my head, or if I don't wear a hat, the top of my head gets sunburned. And that's dumb. I hate that a lot. Bald! My eyes! Yes, my chin is in fact very bald. Just keep that hat on all the time. You gotta have it breathe, dude. At least it's not as bad. It's not as bad as Jack. You know what, Spoiled? I'm not saying anything bad about Jack, because I like him and he's a good friend of mine. The only thing I'll say is that his choice in bagels are horrid. And he'd say, oh, I'm a recovering picky eater. Yeah, recovering picky eater. Sure you are. Freaking abandoner. Breathe for what? To regrow the hair? I don't know. Wisp, the reason why I started wearing a hat on stream is so you don't have to do anything with your hair. You can just flip it back, put the hat on, and call it a day. You look the same every time. Need an umbrella hat. Why an umbrella hat? Why not just a regular hat? Ah, my hat! My hat! You look like 100 years younger. I'll take that. That's fine. The other thing is that I'm starting to have grays in my beard, and I'm not now. Nah. What, are you kidding? Yeah, we're not doing that. One with the propeller? I'll take the beanie. Yeah. You know. All right. So, back to Maven. But yeah, Maven was being used as a relay for the Martian rovers, which kind of sucks because that means you're not going to be able to ping Curiosity and Perseverance as much, and your science throughput is not as good as it could be. This is why I always say it'd be nice to take an SLS or, well, I was about to say New Glenn, but not anytime soon, or a Starship or something, and just not cluster bomb, but that's a little bit of hyperbole on my part, but just, I'm not going to say build a Starlink out around Mars, but like a lot of reconnaissance orbiters, you know, in phased orbits so you never lose signal would be a really good idea. How many Starlinks could Falcon Heavy put into a Mars orbit? None.
Discovery, go at
it would be able to shoot those Starlink satellites at Mars, John, but the Starlink satellites, unless they were upgraded with thrusters, would have a hard time capturing Mars. Hey, Symbol, Tier 1. Subscription, thank you very much, dude. Welcome to Mission Control, your go at throttle up. And you know, we'll ping the bubble wrap symbol just for you. Control, can we get a status on the bubble wrap, please?
Copy. Bubble wrap nominal.
There we go. Thank you, Control. So, yeah. Could a Starlink sat survive an aero capture? Unlikely. All right, so, launched in November 2013, the Maven mission explored the red planet's upper atmosphere, ionosphere, and interactions with the sun to explore the loss of the Martian atmosphere to space. Understanding atmospheric loss gives scientists insight into the history of the planet's atmosphere and climate, liquid water, and planetary... Understanding atmospheric loss gives scientists insight into the history of the planet's atmosphere, climate, liquid water, and planetary habitability. Hey, Matt, what's going on, dude? The Maven mission has truly advanced our understanding of the Martian atmosphere and evolution. The dataset has a tremendous impact in the field, said Shannon Curry, Maven's principal investigator and researcher at the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics at the University of Colorado Boulder, so UC Boulder. Our science team is exceptionally proud of all these amazing discoveries. The sun's impact on Mars. The line. One of Maven's first major results was the erosion of Mars. The erosion of Mars's atmosphere increases significantly during solar storms. It does? Oh my God! Unit 23, that license plate belongs to a local Spurberry police vehicle. It does? Oh my God! The team studied how the solar wind, which is a stream of charged particles continually streaming from the sun, and solar storms continually strip away Mars's atmosphere, as well as how this process played a key role in altering the Martian climate from a potentially habitable world to today's cold, arid planet. The Maven mission made unprecedented strides in advancing our understanding of how the sun and space weather affect Mars, as it was the only spacecraft that could simultaneously take measurements of both the sun and the Martian atmospheric response. Martian light shows. Master Chief, you mind telling me what the heck you're doing with that research satellite? Sir. Watching this Martian light. I don't know. Permission to leave the station. For what purpose, Master Chief? To give the Covenant back their bomb. Permission granted. It's one of the best cutscenes in video game cinematic history, Mars. And it's not close. For a prick, he flew pretty good. The Maven mission discovered several types of auroras that light up when energetic particles plunge into the atmosphere. That happens on Earth, too. Bombarding gases and making them glow. The Maven team showed that protons create new kinds of auroras at Mars. That's it. I'm playing it again. Just one question, Hidgy. What if you miss? I won't. On Earth, proton auroras only occur in very small regions near the poles, whereas at Mars, they can occur everywhere. Have you not seen The Martian? Martian winds are for real. This is not Martian. This is not Martian wind. That you're making a joke. Reference acknowledged, but also this is solar wind. Solar wind perturbing Martian atmosphere. Very different. Halo after space news, please. No. Maybe on Friday. I'll think of. I think about it. I think about it. Yeah, so the prevailing theory here is that, yeah, Mars's atmosphere sputtered into space because for whatever reason, it cooled off and that basically collapsed its magnetic field. The theory is that a long time ago, the theory is that a long time ago, Mars had an atmosphere and had running water, just like Earth did. And then something happened to its magnetic field that caused it to cool off. Or something happened to the planet that caused it to cool off. And that the sun slowly eroded its atmosphere away because these charged particles were allowed to hit the atmosphere and weren't blocked out by a magnetic field. Blood Gulch. Roger, Blood Gulch. We will copy Freelancer text and have them there post-haste. To better understand how Mars lost its atmosphere, Maven measured atmospheric sputtering for the first time at any planet. The team did this by observing argon, which is a noble gas, meaning it rarely reacts with other constituents in the Martian atmosphere. The only significant way it can be removed is by atmospheric sputtering, a process where ions crash into the Martian atmosphere at high enough speeds that they splash gas molecules out of the atmosphere, much like doing a cannonball into a pool. Do a cannonball in front of Windy Peppercorn, man. The team used 11 years of data to reveal the presence of sputtered argon at high altitudes in the exact locations that the energy particles crashed into the atmosphere, showing sputtering in real time. That's actually a really big deal. Because, like, we all know that Mars doesn't have an atmosphere from, like, landing probes on it, but, you know, and you have a theory as to why, and that proved the theory, which is pretty cool. That's actually really neat. You explore Mars like a girl! What? Tomorrow. Our launch pad. Count on it, pee-drinking crap face. It's a good movie. Actually, guys, when if I'm like hanging out with people, just a quick side note, if I'm hanging out with people off stream and I have like a case of beer, I bring a case of beer over to my buddy's house, right? I always go, "Chaw! I've been saving it for a good time." And I was just like, "Here, beer." That damn movie, dude. All right. In 2018, a series of dust storms created a dust cloud so large that it enveloped the red planet. The Maven team studied how this global dust storm affected Mars' upper atmosphere to understand how these events affected the escape of water to space. It confirmed that heating from dust storms can loft water molecules far higher into the atmosphere than usual, leading to a sudden surge in water lost to space. And, you guys ever wonder why we just see random meteorites and stuff? I always tell you that space is not a clean place. There's all kinds of crap up there. Ice, rocks, dirt, spacecraft parts, like upper stages. There's all kinds of doo-doo up there. It's not a clean place. There's also pigs, apples, very small rocks, gases, poop, and pee. The pee re-entered, though. A duck, Exactly. Chasing comets. The solar wind also takes water from Earth to the moon. Yep. And trace parts of the atmosphere. Can't see me, yeah. In addition to Martian science, Maven contributed to NASA's effort to observe Comet 3I Atlas at Mars. Over the course of 10 days last year, the Maven team designed a new observing campaign to capture 3I Atlas by taking multiple images of the comet in several wavelengths, much like using various filters on a camera. Then it snapped a high-resolution ultraviolet image to identify the hydrogen coming from the comet. By studying a combination of these images, scientists can identify a variety of molecules and better understand the comet's composition and history. During the mission's lifetime, Maven's science team produced more than 800 publications, and additional publications are being planned. Yeah, you have the data set. In addition to science, the Maven spacecraft was an instrumental player. They did mention it in NASA Mars's relay network, communicating data from Mars rovers to Earth. It also holds the solar system record for most data relayed from another planet in a single day.
Discovery, go at
Sci-Fi
top.
Zero, 4-month resub. Thank you. Audio of today's media teleconference will be streamed here. Participants: Tiffany Morgan, Director of Mars Exploration, Mike Moreau, Greg Heckler, Shannon Curry. Well, that sucks. That sucks that the mission's over, but the mission was supposed to last 1 year and it lasted 11. I'd say we got our money's worth there. How much did Maven cost? Let's see. Did I remember? Oh, I watched that launch. I'm pretty sure we watched Maven on stream, but that VOD is long gone. 18th November 2013. There you go. Yeah, an Atlas 5401 AV038. Oh my goodness. Yeah, from Complex 41, dude. That mobile launcher. Dude, you know what's crazy to me? So 2013, that's 13 years ago. We saw an Atlas launch off this on Flame Trench last Friday. That's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Everything else seems to be okay, Deadbringer. I think this thing just... I think it got hit by some of that ice. That's why... Guys, that's why I said MMOD. Micrometeorite and orbital debris, MMOD for short. That is a thing you have to worry about, even with satellites on the other planets. All it's going to take, like, look at what they said right here. The atmosphere is constantly sputtering up into space, right? Dust storms can loft water molecules far higher into the atmosphere. It probably got hit by ice. Like, that would be my guess. Ice or some of the crap that got lofted up from a dust storm or something. Just the right timing. Yeah, it doesn't need to be big. Just something this big hits a propellant line, it'll spin out of control. But they said it was spinning at a constant rate, if I'm looking at that, if I read that correctly. Rotating at an unusually high rate when it emerged from behind Mars, indicating a disruption in the trajectory. Due to this rotation, the batteries on the spacecraft had drained, causing the comm system to lose power. Heck, it could have been something... Yeah, John, you're right. It could have been something off of 3I Atlas that just kind of got captured into Mars orbit. Space is a dirty place. You got to take the MMOD into account. That's actually, like, at face value, dudes. You know, when you send something up there, it's like, obviously I want it to be able to withstand getting hit by a meteor. But an interesting thing to understand here is that, like, getting hit by MMOD, it could be something the size of a pea, right? If that pea hits your spacecraft with a, you know, like, let's say a 2 to 3 kilometers a second differential speed, right? You know, difference in orbits, right? You have a 2,000 meters a second differential speed. That's way faster than a bullet. Like, way faster. Could be P. Yeah. Could be alien P. Yeah. So, this stuff happens, dude. So, Mars popcorns its atmosphere into space. In the right circumstances, Dan, yeah. Kind of like how a hailstorm can spit hail out on top of it and travel a great distance. Science, baby. That's why you keep the deflector screens up. Yep. Intensify the forward batteries. I don't want anything to get through. I wanted to see how much the Maven mission cost. Maven cost $582 million to build, launch, and operate for its prime mission, and nearly $100 million less than originally estimated. Under budget. Of this total, $366.8 million was for development, $187 million for launch services, so the Atlas V cost $187 million on an Atlas V 401. And $35 million for the 2-year prime mission. On average, NASA spends $20 million annually on Maven extended operations. Yeah. The humble pebble in retrograde orbit. I'm about to end this man's whole career. I got ejected from Mars from some solar flares. Psych! It was a different solar flare! Oh! Sorry. I'd say 582, 20 million annually on Maven Ops. That's pretty good return on investment. I mean, it paid, dude, 20 million is good for a relay. It paid, I'm telling you, that paid for itself from relaying the data from the other missions. It paid for itself probably 3 or 4 times over. That's really going to be the big thing that sucks about this. We have less bandwidth now to Mars, which blows. We should fix that. And this is partially, like, just on a quick side note, dude, this is why, like, and Jared Isaacman has said this, so I'm kind of echoing his words, but I've been saying it for a long time, but the difference is that he's the NASA administrator, and I'm just some punk that streams on the internet that tries to teach people about what a good space program is. You know, would it really have cost that much more to build another one? To build another Maven? It definitely ain't going to cost $582 million to build and launch another one, right? $366.8 million of this was for development. All right, $187 million for launch services. Development cost is roped into that $360 million. What a portion of that development was actual manufacture of the spacecraft? Probably a third of it. Let's say it was $100 million to manufacture the thing, and you spent $266 million on development. If you build a second one, it's another $100 million, and that's it. And then another $187 million for launch services. And you can use 2 Maven spacecraft under the same $20 million annual Maven extended operations. See what I mean? It's not going to cost $40 million to maintain 2 of these things. You already built out all the principal investigators and all the equipment that you need to connect with one. Building another one is not going to cost double the annual budget. Right? So if we spent another $100 million in this kind of proverbial scenario, right? We could have double the science and we wouldn't have a relay problem right now. See what I mean? Heck, build 5 of the damn things. Just have them constantly orbiting. Another good case for making 2 of these things is that you can get A/B verification of data. So Maven is orbiting around the planet, right? If one was in the same orbit but in the opposite phase, right? So like they're kind of dancing around each other around Mars like this, right? If one goes through and detects sputtering, the other one's going to fly through it right after that. If it doesn't detect sputtering, you can get better data and you can get a higher fidelity You could get better data and higher fidelity on how the atmospheric sputtering works. All that for like another $100 million. And I know people think, oh, that for another $100 million. Yeah, $100 million is pocket change for a space program. That's nothing for any space program. SpaceX, Blue, NASA, Roscosmos, China National Space Program, JAXA, ESA. That's $100 million is pocket change. That's not expensive at all. Like, can you imagine if you had double the data? Double the data here, because that quite literally would give you double the data. Imagine how much more science you could get. You could use the second satellite as an exponential data multiplier, and you could have tons more Martian research for doing this. This is the way Jared Isaacman talks about this, guys, is he wants NASA to be a force multiplier for science. That's what he means when he says stuff like that. At least I'm pretty damn sure. That's what you need to do. $100 million is pocket change for NASA. NASA's annual budget is $25 billion. $100 million is nothing. That's nothing, right? It's not a lot. That's just $100 million allocated cost for like maybe a year to build the second spacecraft, and then basically the costs are the exact same. So, and it's funny because NASA has actually they've figured this out, and they've actually embraced that, but not on the scale that I think Jared Isaacman wants. They've embraced it with the what's the name of the two satellites that are heading out to Mars? Rocket Lab made them. I forgot the name of the mission. Let's make Maven 2 and build 40 of them. If you make Maven right? If you make Escapade, that's what it is. You have Escapade AB, right? Escapade AB, you get two data points when you do your pass around Mars. Another good example of this was Didymos and Dimorphos from the DART mission. You had the DART mission, which is the double asteroid redirect, which is where NASA beamed a freaking asteroid that was in orbit around another asteroid to see if it would change its orbit. They literally crashed a satellite into it. It blew up into a million pieces and changed the orbit of Didymos around Dimorphos. And then right behind it, they had another probe to observe the freaking impact, right? That's smart, dude. That's how you engineer your science program. You know, and once again, the Maven program is great, but if we had done that, if we had had the foresight to do something like that, we wouldn't have a communications bandwidth bottleneck at this point, since the Maven mission failed. It doesn't cost double the amount to maintain two satellites. It just doesn't. Sorry. I got them backwards, William, but you get the idea. Are you telling me economics of scale works in rockets? Didn't SpaceX discover this 15 years ago? Not in the application of science missions, S-Master, because SpaceX doesn't launch in-house science missions, to my knowledge. That might change in the future. Who knows? No, NASA figured this out in the 60s with the Surveyor programs and the Pioneer programs and the Ranger programs and the Viking program. Like, the Surveyor was lunar prospecting rovers to go and find Apollo landing sites, right? They launched, I think, 8 of them. They just started mass producing them and started just cluster bombing the moon with Surveyor satellites. And then Surveyor 3, right? Apollo 12 landed at Surveyor 3, and Pete Conrad and Al Bean went and took parts off of Surveyor 3 and brought them back home. That's pretty freaking cool, dude. STS is the golden child of this reality. The space shuttle had the right idea. It was just run by... It had programmatic problems, Ivo. We'll just say that. In theory, if the shuttle program had the discipline of like SpaceX, the shuttle would be flying as much as Falcon 9 right now. No doubt in my mind. Flying as as much as Falcon 9 right now. Downtime for a little bit of refurb on the orbiters here and there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could get the shuttle program sub 2 day. I'm not sure you're getting 160 launches from a shuttle a year, but I would say that the shuttle program's theoretical max scale would probably be somewhere between like in like annual launches per year, somewhere between 50 and 80 launches a year. So once a week, maybe twice a week, which yeah, Falcon 9 is like last year it was like 4 times a week. 4 times out of 7 days. We could have done this. That was the biggest travesty about Challenger. They didn't keep going with it because an idiotic decision in ignoring the engineering, a programmatic problem. Management ignored what the engineers are saying, which is something you should never do, right? Ever. The engineers are saying it's going to blow up. Don't fly it. It's not designed to fly in this. It'll blow up. And then you say, nah, you're an idiot. And then launch it and it blows up. Who's the idiot? Because that's basically what happened. Be honest, how mad are you that the shuttle got nerfed? I'm not mad about it anymore, S. Artemis 2 kind of changed my perspective on things a little bit, dude. Not gonna lie. Changed my perspective on things. You know, there was a time when I was pretty angry about not going back to the moon, about getting rid of the shuttle program and having no replacement for it and canceling Ares 1. I'm still kind of pissed off about canceling Ares 1. Little spicy there. But I'm not going to say all is forgiven with the shuttle program. Let's wait until Starship vindicates reusable upper stages. You know, let's wait for Starship to do its thing, and it will. I'm pretty sure it will after what I've seen on Flight 12. Still got to work out some kinks with Raptor 3, but yeah, it will. And when it does, it's going to make me feel real good about it. I firmly believe that the space shuttle is a fantastic design. If you're going to do partial upper stage reuse, so the shuttle jettisons its external tank, right? If you were going to do partial upper stage reuse, the shuttle is pretty much the golden design for any type of re-entry vehicle, dude. Any type of partially reusable upper stage re-entry vehicle. Even Starship, to an extent, has borrowed ideas from the space shuttle. The tiles. I mean, they're different. They're composite tiles as opposed to silicate, but tiles. You know, that's a really good example. Hey, Vargon, we're doing all right. One thing I never realized about Apollo until like 2 years ago was that 15, 16, and 17 did an EVA en route back to Earth. Recovering hardware from another celestial body is probably cooler. The deep space EVAs were part of the Apollo applications program, Archie. They basically, I think it was Apollo 15. They basically built the CSM into an observation satellite and took high-res pictures of the moon's surface as the CSM was orbiting around the planet. They made it into a photo reconnaissance vehicle. Think like what the WB-57 does, but on the CSM. They hot rodded it, and they had to go, because it was on a camera shooting film. They had to go get the damn film. Yeah, I think that was Apollo 15. I'm pretty sure. Would 2 super heavies on the side of the shuttle stack work? It's too much thrust, T-Man. If you took super heavy and put the shuttle's external tank on top of it, I actually think, provided that the shuttle doesn't, like, super heavy would have to throttle down big time to handle pushing that thing up into space. But provided that would work, yeah, the shuttle, dude, I'll bet you could increase the shuttle's throw. I bet you could throw 30 tons in the payload bay up into space if you put a super heavy below it. You just need one super heavy, dude, in this theoretical rocket architecture. Yeah, put the shuttle in the ET on top of super heavy. That would be... You could reuse... Super heavy could boost back and land. Easily. I mean, you think shuttle, I mean, let's just do some basic math out here. Like, the shuttle is 60 tons. It could have 25 tons of payload in it, so we're talking 85 tons of orbiter and payload, right? You know, crew is a negligible mass compared to 25 tons of payload, but let's just say orbiter, payload, crew, everything you need. Let's just, I don't know, say 90 tons. Let's round up. That's a gross overestimation. Now, how much is a fully fueled external tank? Gross mass is 760,000 kilos, 1.6 million pounds. So, wait, 700 tons, 760 metric tons, fully fueled? No. Well, it is hydrogen. Really? Huh. Dude, we're below 900 tons on top. With the ET and the shuttle. Yeah, Starship fully fueled with its payload is like 14, somewhere hovering around 1,400 tons. That's what I mean about the shuttle's payload. The shuttle will be able to throw like 50 tons into space if you put a super heavy behind it. Yeah, you could probably double the shuttle's payload capacity. Up mass payload capacity, not down mass. Down mass would stay around 12 tons. I would be, say in this theoretical concept, I would be very worried about actually super heavy, actually just ripping the shuttle and external tank to pieces because it's that freaking powerful. I would be very worried about acoustics in the at liftoff. Super heavy is absurdly loud. We've seen it. It would definitely rattle a couple of tiles off the bottom of the shuttle. But then again, shuttle isn't as far away. Shuttle's way further away from the ground in this theoretical launch vehicle here, so it might be okay. How much is the empty weight of the ET? Super lightweight tank specifications here indicate 58.5, or no, 26 and a half metric tons, dude. 58,500 pounds. 760 tons fully fueled. 1.68 million pounds fully fueled. Holy crap, that thing is light. Oh, dude. Man. Swap the thermal protection system on the shuttle with the Starship. Can't do it. The shuttle's TPS is mechanically adhere. It's designed to mechanically adhere to stainless. Trying to mechanically adhere something to aluminum, which gets really hot and expands during re-entry, not a good idea. The mechanical tiles would pop off like I was gonna say like Pogs, but no child uses Pogs anymore. So. Yeah, actually superbly light, Lava. That's crazy. It's 25 tons. 25 tons, dry mass. 760 tons, wet mass. The ET assuming 100 tons of shuttle and payload gives you 8.5 kilometers a second of delta V. That's not enough. You're not going to get 500 meters a second of ohms with 100 tons of payload in the shuttle's payload bay. So yeah, I'd say, Lava, what I said, conservative estimate, dude, about 50. You could put 50 tons inside of the shuttle. You could double the shuttle's payload capacity if you just put the hot staging ring in super heavy underneath the external tank. Once again, I'd be really worried about loads at that point. The hydrogen tank is not designed for an axial load that way. It's really not. Honestly, like, you would need an SLS core up there, but an SLS core with the external tank plumbing attached to it. The SLS core is designed for longitudinal loads. The external tank is absolutely not. No, that's without super heavy. The external tank, assuming 100 tons of shuttle plus payload, gives you 8.5 kilometers a second delta. Oh, dude. Yeah, sorry, I had to reread it. That would be a disgustingly capable launch vehicle. Then add Super Heavy's Delta V on top of that. Max, what are you saying? What NASA projects would you sacrifice in exchange for building a NASA crewed lunar lander? Well, Maven. Don't need that anymore. Maven not going to continue this mission anymore. Gone. I'll do the math. Well, Lavig, I'm just saying that, the upper stages generally, it's in Kerbal too, if you want to be efficient in KSP and in real life as well. First stages are generally probably about a quarter of the Delta V, maybe a little bit more. It really depends. The upper stage is what does most of the going, fast part. The first stage on rockets, guys, is really for just getting you up there. And if you can get the second stage and payload up there quicker, you're actually more efficient. But you're also balancing against aerodynamics and other things too. I mean, super heavy burns till about 2 minutes 30 seconds. Let me just, you know what? All right, thought exercise here. We're in a little bit into the weeds, but just trying to see what I'm trying to see what the staging velocity is on the vehicle. Time to load up KSP and try this out. I could make it work in KSP. I know I could make that work. It's because parts in KSP are way stronger, but we'd have to do some serious overclocking on engines to mimic Raptors. Like, that would be, and we'd have to do some slight modifications to the gimbal, to the thrust vector control on some of the engines. All right, here's the live broadcast from 12. Here we go.
Separation, hold the two together. Those are going, engines on the ship are going to ignite. We're going to do it in a little bit different.
What about the shuttle with 2 Falcon Heavies set up instead of SRBs? You'd need 4 Falcon Heavy center cores, Dama. Your boosters in the shuttle's design need to be able to hold up the tank fully fueled. I'm not even sure that 4 Falcon Heavies would be able to hold up 700 tons of tank and probably about another 100 tons of shuttle and payload. Probably not.
Of a followed shortly after by the other two.
Okay, so it's in kilometers an hour, not meters a second. I'll convert it. 5766 staging velocity, kph is 1600 meters a second. That doesn't mean that Super Heavy has 1600 meters a second delta V. It had to plow the thing through the atmosphere on the way up. Like, and Super Heavy also needs a little bit more delta V for landing, right? Doing the catch and everything. I would put, I'm not going to do the math out. I would say that it's probably, Super Heavy probably has close to 2 kilometers a second delta V. Probably a little bit more, maybe 2.5 kilometers a second delta V. That would be the upper echelon of what I think you could get mass-wise out of that booster. Keep in mind that your dry mass varies throughout the mission profile. It's going to have more delta V with the same amount of fuel after it separates the 1,400-ton Starship from the top. Turns out if you separate 1,400 tons, you get a little bit lighter, you get a little bit less mass. That changes things a little bit. Yeah, the shadow of the plume, dude. The ascent plume is casting a shadow out over the ocean. Super cool, actually. I will in a second, Drew. I'd say 2.5 kilometers a second. For what it's worth, guys, you need 9,600 meters a second, or 9.6 kilometers a second delta V, or about 27,000 feet per second delta V, if you still use feet per second. Yeah, that's actually more. It's like 28,000, but doesn't matter. Nobody uses feet per second anymore, which is a shame. I like that unit. So if we figured 2,500 meters a second for Super Heavy throughout the whole profile of its mission, that I would say about 2 kilometers a second of that gets used for ascent, probably a little bit more. Let's say 2,200 of it gets used, and you have a staging velocity of 5,700. The shuttle with the upper stage would need to make up the difference here. So you're above the atmosphere, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that. Orbital velocity is 7,600 meters a second. So no, not divide. 7,600. If we take 1,600 out of that, because that was your staging velocity, 6,000 meters a second. Yeah. See, Lava Eagle, that's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what I'm talking about. The shuttles, you could increase, if you put a Super Heavy on a pad and you put the shuttle with the external tank on top of it, and fully fueled external tank with payload, provided that Super Heavy won't just shake the shuttle to pieces on the way up, which it probably would. I mean, but then again, the SRBs were pretty violent too, so you never know. I think the shuttle's payload capacity, it wouldn't be 50 tons like what I said after I reread what you said. I'd say 35 ton payload capacity for the shuttle on the way up. If you put Super Heavy below it, you probably get I'd say about a 10 ton increase. That's just an estimate on the logarithmic nature of the delta V formula. You know what I mean? Space equals metric. There's no doubt that metric is the easier measuring system, guys. But if you really want my honest to God opinion, spacecraft use longitude and latitude for reference frames around celestial bodies. Doesn't matter what celestial body, right? Satellites in geostationary are measured by their longitudinal degree number. So there's like 108 degrees west or 108 degrees east. If satellites are using longitude and latitude for a geocentric reference measuring system, or just, well, any celestial body reference measuring system, technically meters a second and feet per second are both wrong. You'd need knots. Yep. And spacecraft's altitude should be measured in nautical miles. Yeah, you should be using nautical miles and knots. technically, because the reference system we use is longitude and latitude to denote a lot of orbital mechanics. Yeah, I mean, I'm just putting it out there. It's just. So that staging velocity from flight 12 is not exactly accurate in this case. I'm trying to do a more accurate calculation, trying to extract the gravity losses from flight 12 and then apply them to a ET stack. Good thought exercise, Lava. Once again, conservative estimate about 30 ton. You could probably increase anywhere between 5 to 10 tons on the shuttle's up mass payload capacity if you put a super heavy underneath it instead of 2 SRBs. You need not. I forgot to tell you in the previous mention, I mean only the fuel on the V3 Starship. Only the fuel on the V3 Starship is 2,300 tons. That's 3 times more. Oh, yeah, that's right. My measurement was off of a V2's. Oh, dude, that's disgusting. We should make that. We should make that out of principle. Put a shuttle in an orbiter. A shuttle in an orbiter with a super heavy on top. Well, dude, that changes everything. And that goes back to what I originally said, Lava Eagle. I honestly think that super heavy would need to deep throttle all 33 Raptors or shut Raptors off on the way up, or else it would just obliterate that external tank and shuttle, dude. It would absolutely obliterate it. Super heavy would just go right through it and blow everything up, and it would just keep going. Whoa. You got about 4 kilometers a second from super heavy and 8.5 from the ET. Well, using your calculations, bro, you could fill up the shuttle's payload bay with lead at that point and it'd be fine. It's just like Starship. Holy crap. What about super heavy with an SLS core on top? So the thing about the SLS core is that RS-25s do not have the capability of air starting. They use a pneumatic system that is ground service equipment actuated. So the shuttle and SLS need to be connected to the pad to get the RS-25s to turn on. And you can't restart them once they're off. So you could either A, retrofit an SLS core stage with chines, right? Like super heavy, and use that to spin start RS-25s, in which case I'd be very worried about hydrogen pooling at that point. But whatever. Especially in the vacuum, dude. But provided you could do all that, that would be disgusting. That would be a disgusting throw capacity. It'd be more than Starship. It'd be way more than Starship. SLS core is de facto expendable. Expendable vehicles always have more delta V because they're expendable. You know, conservative estimate, just kind of ballparking it here. A super heavy with an SLS core on top of it, provided you could air start 4 RS-25s after during hot staging and stuff. 200, 300 tons. Just nice round number. I'd say 300 ton. And you guys, Starship keeps saying 100 tons, 100 tons, 100 tons. 100 tons is ridiculous. That is an insane payload capacity to low Earth orbit for any vehicle. The Saturn V was 120, in case anybody's wondering. Would RS-25 hot staging fry the booster? No more than lighting 6 Raptors on top of it, Matt. I think you'd be fine. Wouldn't that push the Earth away? Yes. Shuttle Super Heavy vote +1. Drew, can you compare the Shuttle Super Heavy stack to 5 segments? The 5-segment... Drew, the 5-segment SRBs, if you could put 5-segment SRBs on the shuttle, I would... You'd probably get a couple extra tons of payload capacity, maybe 1 or 2 tons extra, but not that you're not going to get that much more. Yeah. I would say the shuttle probably do like maybe 27, 28 tons with 5 segments as opposed to 4 segments. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. I'll do paper and pencil math tomorrow to find out what the max LEO of the shuttle Super Heavy V3 is, since V3 boosters will have over 4,000 tons of prop. Dude, the Delta V would, oh man, that's what I mean. So you'd have to shut off half of the Raptor 3s on Super Heavy during ascent. You'd have to at least shut them off because if you pushed with all that thrust through a 760-ton shuttle and external tank, Super Heavy would just go through the external tank, pop it like a balloon, and just keep going. Like, since we were playing theory crafting, could SRBs get a Super Heavy without Starship near orbital? Then with a small burn and a little top off, you now have a bigger fuel depot for HLS refueling. Burbs, that sounds pretty right, but there's a reason. Dude, I don't know if you've seen the renders of V4 Starship. The renders that SpaceX put out of V4 Starship has a Super Heavy sized Starship upper stage. And it looks ridiculous, to be 100% honest with you. It looks ridiculous. Starship V3 is 1,000 tons heavier than the shuttle concept. Yeah, Archie, it's crazy. Just put 2 Super Heavy boosters on top of each other. That's basically what V4 is, Derby. Except with you have 9 engines on V4 instead of 6. V4 is like V3 is going to be around for a little while. This is the version of Starship we're going to see for a little bit. When V4 comes around, oh my gosh, that is going to look weird. But that's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous thing right there. It's what I was telling you guys. Super Heavy. What did I tell you about that V3 Super Heavy? That thing was frightening at liftoff. Like, I've never seen anything do what that thing did during liftoff. You know what? We're watching it. I don't care. Like, I've never seen something rock the air like this thing does. So, if you're new to rocket science or you're not really, like, looking at every particular detail like I am, or like a space nerd does, watch the atmosphere kind of in this area and this area right here after the vehicle leaves the pad. The pressure waves that are given out from the sound of these Raptor engines, from the sound of 33 Raptors going full blast, the pressure waves from the sound is enough to condense atmosphere. You can see the sound, which is that's, you know how loud it needs to be able to see the damn sound? It's quite impressive, dude. That is a frightening amount of power.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7.
I haven't, Creeper. No, not
5,
yet.
4, 3, ignition.
Just wait for it. Watch. Look at the sound.
We have liftoff.
That's ridiculous. What is this? Look at the freaking sound. You can see the sound coming off of it. The pressure that's induced, the pressure waves coming off of this thing is enough to induce momentary atmospheric condensation. You can phase change air into liquid because it's so loud. That's right, Bill. Those pressure waves broke a shutter inside of your camera. Okay. I want you guys to hear something. I didn't say this when we did kind of our Flight 12 recap.
We have liftoff.
Listen to the call-outs from the people in mission control. Listen, particularly this first one.
Pitching downrange.
Pitching downrange. Now the second one. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Booster Raptor, chamber pressure nominal.
Do you know why it sounds like their mics are overdriven? Because they are quite actually yelling into the mic because you can't hear yourself think. They're 1.5 miles away. Or, yeah, 1.5 miles away, about 2 kilometers away. And they can't hear themselves talking. That's why they don't sound like this when they're talking in the mic. That's how loud that thing is. They can't hear anything. That's why all the calls were like, "Hi, it's doing this!" You know, like...
All right, we are T plus 30.
Even Dan, listen.
To flight C at 33 out of 33 Raptor 3 engines on booster V3. Ascending over the Gulf now, coming up on maximum aerodynamic pressure.
You see, Dan can't even... Dan's like... That's the most excited I've ever heard Dan Hewitt ever. And it's looking really good. Yeah, all right. Because he can't hear anything. That's how loud that thing is. Crazy, right? I had a buddy tell me about that. After my Flight 12 recap. I got to send a message. It's like, yeah, they're all yelling because they can't hear each other. I'm like, yeah, yes, that's right. It's right. It's loud.
Booster and ship, avionics power, telemetry nominal.
Even that, dude. Even when it's 6 kilometers away, like, it's still loud. They're right there. All the mission controllers are in that building right there. Right where my mouse cursor is.
Good. We're
Tube!
passing through the period of maximum
Your buddy's teeth still hurt? No, but yeah.
dynamic pressure.
At the time.
A little over a minute into.
What a monster. What a machine that thing is. Unfreaking believable. Dude, like, it's still like that. All right. Anyway. Yeah. Good theory craft discussion, guys. Let's get back to a little bit more space news. Actually, you know, let's see. So Chrome Kiwi, a buddy of mine that does a lot of renders. He does work with RGV and stuff. Chrome's good people. We like him. He has some pictures from Pad 1 Flame Trench at Starbase. Walls for the Pad 1 Flame Trench seen arriving on site. Man. These are metal plates that form the outer walls of the trench. So, the flame deflector and everything. Yeah, now, this is not a picture, just in case anybody's confused. This is not a picture of Pad 1's progress. This is a picture of Pad 2 when it was under construction. I don't think Pad 1 is to this level just yet, but it's not as far behind as you might think. Yeah, it's not as far behind as you might think. Yeah, see these plates right here? You stack them together on the sides like Lego, and then you fill them with concrete. Yeah, that's the freaking, like, 2-meter wide plates here. That's the only thing that can withstand that blast from the damn booster. That and the deflector and the deluge system. The only way to make sure that anything underneath this rocket doesn't get completely obliterated is to just spray crazy amounts of water in there and just be like, is it good? Pad 1 will be the exact same as 2? Yes, more or less. SpaceX standardized their Starship pad design, Tycon. So, Pad 1, Pad 2 at Boca, Slick 37A and 37B, LC-39A, all those Starship pads are this design. They're the, you got this pyramid GSE bunker on the sides, the deflector diverter, the bidirectional diverter, with the tower next to it. They're actually, dude, that's the other thing, guys. I haven't given you, like, there are other places to get Starship updates, but honestly, if we zoom in here on 39A at the Cape, now keep in mind, this picture is from December 28th, 2025. Look, see, there's those same pieces there. This is from 6 months ago. I'm not saying that 39A is almost ready to go, but it's well beyond 78 to 80% complete at this point. Yeah, it's almost done, dude. Like, I just want to point that out. Like, this was a hole in the ground a year ago at this time. Just saying. They've been doing deluge tests at 39A. Yeah, pad deluge tests are one of the last things you do to certify a pad for operation, because it's not going to work if you can't spray water down there. Yeah, this thing is like really close to being finished, which is crazy. I mean, really wish that it was right here, but you know, maybe in another timeline. How many pads is that compared to Blue? So SpaceX has one close to operational pad at 39A at Kennedy Space Center. There's one operational at Boca Chica right now, and pad 1 I would say probably has another 6 months at this point. Pad 1 will probably be done by at the end of the year, which is crazy to think about, because the last flight from pad 1 in its old design was in November of 2025. So it was only 7 months ago. In 13 months, they'll have it completely retooled from pad 1 design to pad 2 design, which is okay. And SpaceX is also working on more pads down here. Slick 37A. Well, not 37A. This is Space Launch Complex 37. It is originally, guys, just a little history lesson while we're here. Slick 37 was originally a 2-pad launch complex for the Saturn 1 and Saturn 1B launch vehicles during the Apollo program. You could see 37A and 37B, the original ones, right there. Now, in the late 90s, it was retooled for the Delta rocket, but instead of like being super cool and using some of this infrastructure for Delta, McDonnell Douglas just crudely just made a dirt mound of dirt over part, like on the side of the pad, and just used the original Slick 37B as like a GSE bunker. And gross. Anyway, yeah, that all got demolished after the last Delta went out of here. SpaceX basically leveled the entire area. I'm pretty sure they got rid of the Apollo era stuff too, which kind of blows, but what are you going to do? What they are going to build here is 2 of those pads. Now, I'm a little fuzzy on the location of said pads at this point. The original renders had 2 pads here and here, like one of them here and one of them here, but I do believe they're moving the pads up here somewhere, but I don't know that for sure. We'd have to go digging. I heard a rumor that the towers start soon at 37. The segments are already out there, goalie. Last I heard, they were waiting on environmental review, which, surprise. How did you hear all that information? Did you read all that, or you're good at listening and remember? Xanax, I have a steel trap for a memory if you don't know me. Like, I know you've been in here before, dude. I've seen you. Hi, by the way. I remember things and I don't forget them. It is a blessing and a curse. I think like I was like dropped as a child or something, and I don't think it knocked a screw loose. I already had those loose. Maybe it tightened one. But yeah, my memory is a steel trap. I don't forget things. Well, certain things. Not perfect. The first concrete tower is in the northeast area. Yep. Around that pond. Yep. Pad foundations are being done for the first tower, so it should start stacking soon. Second tower foundation is starting now. Trench has also begun to be dug too. Trey, given that rate of iteration, considering that it took about 2 years to build pad 2, I would honestly and truly say that so the pads at 37, they'll probably be done by the middle of next year. Maybe late 2027. Just like, seriously, think about that for a second. Just, let's say a year from now. Actually, let's say like 18 months away. So the end of 2027, SpaceX will have 5 Starship pads operational. 2 at Boca Chica, 1 at 39A at Kennedy Space Center, and 2 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, 37A and B. Like, that, you know, we often have conversations of like, how cool would it have been if they'd built out like 5 Saturn V launch pads? But here we are. You know, it took them a long time to build Pad 2 at Boca Chica. It took them about 2 years, right? They started in basically the middle of 2024, and it saw its first launch at, you know, like let's say middle of 2026. That was the first time they built the pad. The second time, third time, fourth time, if you're using the same guys, the same team, it's not going to take 2 years. 37 is not going to take 24 months to make. I'll tell you that right now. I'd say 18. It'll probably be done at the end of 2027. Gonna need all these pads when the gigabays are up and running and the Cape gets its own star factory. Yep. Just, I think it's important to consider the scale here. That, and just another thing to take into account, guys, is that the first version of the V3 booster, the first version of V3 Starship, moved 44 tons of Starlink satellites, albeit most of them were dumb links, right? And 2 of them were the Dodger dogs. It moved 44 tons of payload into space. Now, I know, is 44 tons the most amount of payload any rocket has ever moved into space? No, it's not even close. Saturn V takes the cake for single biggest shot, like one shot of payload by putting Skylab up there. Or if you count the S4B, the LEM, and the CSM as one contiguous unit of payload being put into low Earth orbit, then that would take the cake. But, you know, the shuttle, partially reusable, 25 tons up, 12 tons down. It could move about half what it could take up down because it has to fly. Aerodynamics. It's a glider at the end of the day. Because it glides through the air, it has to have a balanced center of mass and center of lift, just like an airplane, right? 44 tons to space. And keep in mind, it dumped a ton of fuel after managing cutoff. We were talking about ballparking payload capacity here. I honestly think like Starship V3 has probably like a baseline payload capability of, I don't know, it's above 50 to 60 tons. 50 to 60 tons. Like, dude, even if like the Starship design froze here and SpaceX stopped iterating and they just used that, 60 tons to orbit inside of an 8-meter payload bay volume, right? Because the payload bay is not as wide as the entire vehicle, right? It's a 9-meter diameter, right? So the payload bay is theoretically going to be a little bit smaller, right? You have to take into account like payload bay doors and stuff. 60 tons with an 8-meter payload bay is insane. That's insane. That is ridiculous capability in itself. Like the clean shave? Thanks, Milan. Yeah. If they can get 1 launch a month from each pad, that is 60 launches a year. Ari, if Starship can hit 60 launches a year, we are... I've said this a lot. If Starship can hit 60 launches a year over 2 pads with Starship, we need to rethink our entire spaceflight architecture. You really think it's only 50 tons? Conservative estimate, Yarg. You got to remember the mass fraction is completely different because it's steel. It's not aluminum. You know what I mean? I'd say 50 conservatively, yeah. I was going to say 70, but It would probably be 70 if you expended Starship. Yeah. You know, which for a baseline is insanely close. For a baseline is it's pretty close to what they want. They want 100 tons. They could get that. They could get that with that, sure. Last, please. The Space Coast from May 20th, Mutter. All right, yeah, I'll bring that up. 44 tons down one engine. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bob, that's why I was saying that. Like, the other thing is take into account that they had an engine puke. Guys, like, even in itself, anything that can take over 25 tons into space is insane. Think about what 25 tons is. Like, what is that, like 8 school buses worth of payload capacity? It's this thing, 44 tons, dude. That's a lot. That's a lot of payload. Hellfish, what was your last? We don't actually know if it was 44 tons, do we? It was somewhere around there, Hellfish. There's no official confirmation, I'll say. Lava Eagle, what do you got? Last thing about Delta V. I did the math for the SLS 5-segment boosters in Starship V3 with 100 tons of payload, and it appears the SRBs would not be able to throw it high enough because of the low specific impulse. I'm only getting about 1.2 kilometers a second for the SRBs. And that's without grav losses. Yet still have 1.3 TWR, though. The 5 segments, I've read Lava Eagle, I know the answer to this. The 5-segment boosters would have been an upgrade for the shuttle, but they wouldn't have been that much of an upgrade. You got to remember, like, you think 5-segment boosters, it's like, oh, longer burn time. No, it's not longer burn time. The 5 segments burn for the same amount of time as the 4 segments. They just give you a little bit more liftoff thrust. That's it. Combine that with crappy specific impulse, there you go. It only would have increased the shuttle's payload capacity by maybe a ton, at best. Maybe 2, if you're lucky. Yep, it's just more thrust. That's all. So is SpaceX just straight up bluffing with the 60 Starlink capacity to LEO with Starship V3? No, Matt, no, not at all. No, they're not bluffing. If anything, they could probably move more at this point in time. Yeah. What's up, Yarg? Could you just pack them differently to get a longer burn time, though? You'll get a longer burn time, but you're sacrificing thrust at this point. So you could have them burn for longer, and they burn for longer, but you'd have a worse grav loss, dude. Like I said, 5 segments aren't the upgrade that everybody thinks they are. They're good. Like, don't get me wrong, it would definitely make a shuttle launch a little more spicy, but it wouldn't increase payload capacity that much. It's not that much extra kick for what it is. That's why they never did it. It's just not worth it. SDS with Boles, though. Yeah, that would be nice, but the Bole boosters are not reusable, so. Gross. I would assume when we say 5-segment boosters, Mutter, hey, Poop, what's going on? 71-month resub. I would assume when we say carbon fiber SRBs, we mean the, or when we say 5-segment SRBs, we mean the steel 5 segments that are currently flying on SLS. We're not talking about Bole. Bole boosters would be great for SLS. They would not be great for the shuttle. Larger web thickness, propellant thickness gives longer burn time. Longer gives higher thrust. Yeah, make tube longer. Tube make more thrust. They didn't fully fuel it for Flight 12, probably to around 90 to 95% fueled. Nevada, that's, like I said, that's frankly ridiculous. V3, like, I can't believe that people watch the same Flight 12 as I did, and they're like, oh my god, this is mishap investigation, space, what are they doing? What a failure that mission is. I'm like, okay, sure. Sure. You know, like, sure about that? I think I'm pretty sure that the fact that that thing made it anywhere near space on the first try is pretty damn impressive, let alone making every single step except the booster landing burn and the Raptor relight, I'd say that that's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good. Just putting it out there. Do all SRBs use the same fuel mix? No. What is it? There's PBAN, there's polybutadiene ammonium nitrate, there's ammonium perchlorate, and hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene. There's a bunch of different cocktails that are, very spicy but very bad for you. But yeah, watching the launch with EJ was a fine, happy experience. Yeah, Taryn, it was a good time. I love watching launches with you guys. It's my favorite, dude. Vulcan has multi-segment boosters too, if you count the nozzle parts. Andrew, I've turned that thing over in my mind many times. Vulcan had a problem on the Cert 2 mission, right? They qualified another booster, said it was fine, and then proceeded to launch another one and have the exact same problem in the exact same spot at almost the exact same time during the mission. Do you know what that tells me? Here's the thing about SRBs. SRBs aren't hard to make. They take time to make. The propellant is cast like concrete, and the SRB casing is basically the form for your concrete. Concrete takes a long time to cure. It doesn't take very long to pour. It takes a long time to harden and cure. The propellant needs to cure.
Discovery,
And
go
you
at throttle.
don't really want to, getting stuff to cure correctly, you heat it up, but you're not going to do that with an SRB casing because it's an SRB casing with explosives packed inside of it. Actually, SRB fuel makes dynamite look like a firecracker. You're not going to heat that thing up, so you just basically got to climate control and just let it sit there for a little while. Because of this, you know what that tells me? That tells me that qualification test was okay, the newer batch of SRBs will be fine, but this could potentially happen
Discovery,
on
go
another
at throttle.
mission with the first batch of GM63XLs that we made for you. It's possible that it could happen again. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Northrop Grumman probably knew that this would happen again. And they probably were just it's fine. It won't affect mission performance. And I'll be honest, if you know, that's good. But also, rolling the dice like that is not fortuitous. Has proved not fortuitous in the past for space programs when you're just kind of all right, send it. It'll be fine. Any Kerbal player knows this. You don't just be send it. It'll be fine. No, that's bad. That usually ends with an explosion, not the one you want. Yeah, Bob, there you go. Hey, AC, what's up, dude? We talking about solids? Yeah, we were for a second, dude. Sorry, I gotta turn on Starbase Live. The headset keeps going off. Quagmire had a 13-monther as well. Talking about SRBs, do you think an SRB nozzle rud on Vulcan with the exhaust facing towards the core could end up with a full rud? No. It'll heat the BE4s up, but I mean, it has proven to be fine. So if Northrop Grumman was yeah, it'll be fine. That's pretty good analysis. So it's Northrop Grumman after all. They're pretty good at that. But also at the same time, you got to think of the schedule, right? Vulcan needs these SRBs to launch, and yeah, it might blow the nozzle off, but these missions are relatively low performance demands out of the SRBs. So, I mean, if you sit there and say, no, we're going to scrap all of these things and we're not going to use them, you could potentially delay the Vulcan program by years because SRBs take a long time to make. Let's wait for the second VC6 since both the mishaps happened on the second flight of VC2 and VC4. Yeah, right. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you did. Deadbringer, I heard whispers, right? And I don't mean to Eric Berger you guys, but yeah. ULA was not happy with them. That's what I heard. Like, really not happy with Northrop Grumman. Yeah, they were not. That's how it was said to me.
Discovery.
It's
go
kind of
throttle.
obvious, but also, yeah. Yeah. Hey, oh no. 71 months. Some months later. What's up, dude? How you doing? Yeah, I'd be kind of pissed at them too, especially if they knew that this could happen. Here, this is Space from Space here. What do we got? Full screen. Here is a shot of 39A. This is from May, you said. Yeah, that thing's close to being finished. Ooh, that's pretty. Look at that thing. I love the way they set up the tank farm for this. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. That's some real nice anti-spaghettification of your fuel lines and commodities right there. That's pretty. This was 2 weeks ago. What gets me, Mutter, is that SpaceX dug this retention pond out here. And they dug a retention pond there. And a couple more over here. I'm wondering what this one is for. Because it's definitely not for that. That's too far away. And there's retention ponds here and here. The ASU, probably. Touche. Florida dirt squishy, that's the answer. Touche. Aren't the Bole boosters, are the Bole boosters even being worked on anymore? I don't know, Trey. Hard to say. I'm now getting PTSD of how close these tanks are to the launch pad. Dude, 39A is pretty big. They're pretty far away, but also, yeah. Lava, I said this the day that New Glenn popped. If you're ever wondering why Complex 39 has such a big footprint, why the launch pads are far apart from each other, and why they're completely far apart from the VAB and the turning basin and the operations support buildings and stuff, well, now you know the answer to that question. Because if a Saturn V popped, like I said, guys, there's a reason why these things are using mobile launchers, right? And why they're using a clean pad, and why most of the pad paraphernalia is under reinforced concrete. Like the commodity, 39A doesn't necessarily have a commodity bunker, right? Like a dedicated commodity bunker. The whole pad structure, this is hollow. It's a commodity bunker under here and here. Your pneumatic systems are in this area right here, and then your ECS is over here. Don't ask me why I know that. And then you have your fuel paraphernalia coming from here and here. It's just liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen at this point. But during the Saturn V, during the days of the Saturn V, where the second hydrogen sphere is out at 39B, that's where the RP1 loading was done. So RP1 hydrogen, liquid oxygen, because the Saturn V first stage was RP1 and LOX, and second and third stage were hydrogen and LOX. Yeah. There's a reason why this is all just armored up, because if a Saturn V exploded, they didn't want to lose the pad. If you lost the ML, so be it. Just get the crawler, take it off. That's why they built 3 of them. Seriously. They were very worried about that. Because super heavy lift had never been tried. Nobody had ever done that. It was a complete unknown. They weren't 100% sure if that would work. That's why they built the pads all spaced out. The tanks are way far away. They're on the edge of this area. This area is called the blast detonation area, or BDA for short. Yeah, there's a reason why they're on the edge of the blast detonation area and why there's this huge area around the pad. Weren't these pads built with Nova in mind? Yeah, one thing to learn about any von Braun rocket architecture is that he always built for expandability. Yes, I bet you moving to Nova Creeper wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But honestly, I wouldn't have moved if the Apollo program had kept going, like figuratively, if it had kept going, I wouldn't have moved to Nova probably until the late 70s, probably like 78, 79, something like that. I would have upped the cadence on the Saturn V, ordered another 20 cores, and moved to 4 launches a year and kept that cadence going throughout the 70s. And that would have made it so, you know, if you have the cadence of 4 a year, you could move to longer duration stays on the moon, right? So that means out of the 4 Saturn V's that you get a year, 2 of them are needed to maintain your moon base that you now have, and then you could use 2 more for Martian flybys or Venusian flybys or applications like Skylab or whatever. The next real step for the Apollo program was to standardize around the 4-time-a-year launch cadence, which is what they should have done. They should have done that instead of the space shuttle. Yeah. Slick 37 is in the photo too. Yeah, let's go take a look. I'm bummed that they demolished the Apollo era commodity bunkers. That's really a shame, but whatever. For Starship Pad, I'm kind of cool with it. Oh yeah, there you go. You know what would be really cool? If they built the other pad like right there. Like just the two next to each other. That would be pretty sick, and then had your tank farm over here servicing both of them. Yeah, see, there's the tower segments, and yeah, they destroyed that abomination of a launch pad that McDonnell Douglas just crudely pasted onto the side. Could the Saturn 1B have done lunar crew rotation? No. No. We did test something like this in our career mode 1 save in Kerbal, John, where I basically put we put 6 thumpers on the Jebstone 3 rocket, which is a Saturn 1B, right? The more or less equivalent of it would be a Saturn 1B with 6 Titan boosters on the sides. That could throw the CSM out on TLI, but it would be pretty much good enough for a free return, and that's about it. I mean, well, actually, with the CSM, you could circularize, but yeah, I'm not sure where you're going from there. You have no lander. Let me go back to look at it. Yeah, they dug a new pond out here. Interesting. This is thinking they have reusable landers already at the base. If you had a reusable lander, I mean, how are you getting the fuel for said lander out there? You'd have to use something else. But yeah, you theoretically could have. The Saturn 1B was built for Earth orbit rendezvous and to learn how to do heavy lift launch capability, John. We didn't even know how to do heavy lift. When the Apollo program was conceived by the president, we didn't know. If you asked NASA to put 20 tons of payload into space, they would have looked at you funny. I've seen the Saturn shuttle concept, cousin. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Other pad would be southwest of the tower segments. So there's going to be one there and one here. Yeah. I don't understand why SpaceX just didn't use the original Apollo design. Like, okay, so the original Apollo design was pretty trick. You had one tank farm feeding 2 pads. So the original Slick 37 design was that you had your hydrogen sphere here, and then you had RP1 and LOX, or no, hydrogen, scratch that. Actually, yeah, you had hydrogen over here and then RP1 and LOX over here. That's weird. Why would you do that? Nah, that must be old. That must not be looking at this right. So you had one tank farm that could fuel 2 rockets very quickly. So you could do an Earth orbit rendezvous. So you could launch one Saturn 1B with the CSM, launch another one with the LEM, and launch another one with a transfer stage and go from there. Like, you could just alternate back and forth, and you had a singular tank farm feeding 2 pads. See, I don't get why SpaceX just didn't put a tower here, trench there, and the fuel farm back here on the back plate of this pad. And then separate them with a retention pond. And then retention ponds on the other side too. That way, if you have a divert, it goes into the retention pond. It doesn't burn everything down around it. Catch angle, most likely. Does that really matter at this point? It's the angle of attack for inbound boosters. So, like, okay, if it does matter, yeah. That means that if it does matter, that the tower positions make way more sense. Because the boosters are going to be coming back from the ocean. So if you put one there and one there, then yeah, you're good. But man, where are you going to... That doesn't leave you a lot of room for your tank farm, dude. Obviously, you're not I wouldn't put any tank farm over here. That's where stuff is coming inbound. Your tank farm in this design has to be right here. It has to be. There's really... Either that or you could kind of put it in the center. Let me go back and look at this. Yeah. See? There's the tanks, or at least started some of the tanks. You'd have to put the farm over here. If you're putting one pad here and one pad there, yeah, you don't... Jeez. The renders aren't... they changed the renders, Aqualux. The old renders had 2 pads over here and the tank farm over here. But they've changed that. The pads are apparently going right here and right here because they want them lined up with the shoreline because the boosters are coming in this way. Which doesn't give you a lot of room for your tank farm, interestingly enough. And they have to build the ASU. The ASU area is being cleared to the west of the complex. Wasn't the ASU supposed to go over here? If I'm recalling these plans correctly, it's supposed to be right there. It's next to the dock. The Delta operation, or not the dock, that's not the dock, that's the Delta integration facility. It's behind a cloud in this picture. There it is. So the separator was supposed to be right here. Or not was, it, yeah, separator's supposed to be right there. That's what you sent last night? Oh, yeah, Mutter. Yeah, okay, I got it. Interesting. Cool. Good stuff, man. That's ridiculous, man. Like I said, the whole 37 is going to be done by the end of 2027, which is... That's pretty good, man. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to check with this space from Space Picture. This is all Planet Labs. What's going on over here? Yeah, that picture is superbly old. I'm... huh. Only the brighter color areas are real. Yeah, so the satellite got all the pads right on the coast. See where the picture kind of changes? That's a super old picture of the Florida Gigabay. Is it... Okay, quick weird topic here. Is it slightly annoying to anybody else that SpaceX and even Blue, to an extent, like, have to conform to these crappy old pad designs? Like, I just had kind of a passing thought. Like, it's annoying that, like, you have to put all this stuff in this area because you can't put it right here because the bird. Like, bro, there's plenty of places for bird around here. Okay? There's plenty of places to bird. All right? There's not a lot of place to launch. Like, that's actually kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, they have to shoehorn 2 pads and potentially 2 catching towers of the most powerful launch vehicle we've ever made, full reuse, and all of its facilities into a Saturn 1B double pad launch complex. That's kind of bullcrap, dude. Am I wrong? Like, that's kind of bullcrap. Even Blue, like, we talked about Blue with how they're going to revamp 36 for New Glenn vertical integration and how they're going to work on 36B. They're shoehorned by some goddamn concrete slabs that nobody wants to... The museum doesn't want them destroyed. And don't get me wrong, dudes, like, I'm not one to be like, oh, destroy historic launch complex 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the first pads that were ever built at Kennedy Space Center. Right? Normally, I'm like, no, don't tear them down, leave them there. But if it's to build more New Glenn pads, yes, please, please. But, dude, take the pad and move it somewhere else. Just, this piece of concrete was used to launch the first bumper rocket. That's really cool. All right, sweet. Bulldoze it and build 3 more of this, please. Like, that's actually kind of annoying. It just kind of clicked in my head. That's dumb. Like, you're forcing these contractors to, SpaceX had to build another. They built their Starship pad inside of the BDA for the original 39A pad. Dude, screw that. Like, just have them build a double Starship pad out here. Now, they wouldn't do that because Playa Linda Beach, like, it's just whatever. Like, it's kind of stupid. Just my opinion, though. And you can't build anything out here because the Department of Defense has Complex 46, and they use that to test ICBMs and Minotaur rockets like once every 5 years. And because of that, you can't build anything near it. It's like, okay. Do you think SpaceX will put Cybertrucks on the moon? That'd be cool. A little Wikipedia quest has begun to show how many unused launch complexes are already historic monuments. Yeah. Don't worry about that pad. Yeah. That'd be great. Like, dude, just... Yeah, this is cool that these are the original pads. No one has used this for launching rockets in over a half a century. Just let it go, dude. Let it go. Like, there's not many times where I would say get rid of old spaceflight, historic spaceflight stuff. If it's to build bigger and better spaceflight stuff, yeah, I'm kind of cool with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of ranting. Could that pad literally be anywhere else, though? Honestly, 37 is probably the best spot for Starship. Considering the sound. There's nothing around it. You know, there's not the only thing to the north is 40, which SpaceX already has, and then Complex 34, which is where Apollo 7 happened. It's very unlikely in my mind that anybody would be using that because it's a monument. Like, did those pads actually launch anything historical? Or is it just because they were the first? They launched bumper snarks, Yark. Yeah, some of the first things to reach the edge of space from the United States. In terms of other stuff, yeah, that's, I don't know. Pull up 16. Complex 16 is relativity. That's over here. Relativity is working on the Terran R launch pad right there, which is pretty cool. But even them, they're shoehorned. They had to... Terran 1's launch pad is right here, right? And they launched once, and then they said, nah. And then they almost went bankrupt, and then they built Terran R after basically a hostile takeover, right? Like, Terran R is going to be pretty damn good. That's pretty cool. And then Stoke with LC-14. Oh, damn, dude. Damn. That's very clean. That pad's finished. That pad's done. There's no construction equipment here. That pad's good. Stoke changed the tower. Okay, they changed the tower, but that complex is... LC-14 is pretty operational. Yeah. Stoke is getting ready to launch Nova, guys. Actually, check this out, dude. Sound on. Epic flyby footage of the ongoing Zenith engine test and Stage 1 structural qualifications happening at their Moses Lake site in Washington. I probably can't listen to the music, so just look at the drone footage. No. Extreme testing! Batman! Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Stoke has a twin engine cell test stand at Moses Lake up in Washington. Cool. Stoke painted their tower red. Very based. Uncle X, what are you saying? Why do you think the idea of an offshore platform is so tempting? Because because you don't have to worry about stuff like that. I would, if I owned a aerospace company, Uncle X, I would never launch anything from the ocean. Unless, like, maybe Sea Dragon. Dude, just... Even launch pads that are close to the freaking shore, the saltwater corrosion is unreal. Like, Boca Chica will ruin things. Same with the Cape. Like, that's something that we don't really think about. But everything is constantly getting just obliterated by a salty ocean air. Is Stoke using an aerospike for its upper stage? It's not an aerospike per se. That's their Andromeda engine. It's one power pack with like 20 nozzles, and the engine is actually heat shield shaped. The idea is that Stoke's going to make a reusable upper stage, and the upper stage is shaped like a capsule, Isabel. Yeah, dude, it is a wild design. It's Stoke's the only other company that's working on a fully reusable rocket system. And the Nova rocket's second stage is shaped like a pod. The payload, it looks like Dragon almost. The payload fairing's up at the top, right? Payload fairing opens, closes again, and the upper stage is shaped like a gumdrop. And yeah, dude, look at the engine. And the idea is that the engine will get you up into space, right? This will get you up there, no problem. And then when you're coming back down, instead of firing the engines like supersonic retropropulsion style, what this thing does is turn on the power pack and start pumping the propellants out a nozzle, like that looks like a shower head right here. And it uses basically transpiration cooling. It's not exactly transpiration cooling. Actually, no, that's not It's not exactly how it works. It's kind of like an expander cycle almost, where the propellants are running through the heat shield and then they're expended out in the center. That's what it is. So they can use their upper stage turbo pumps as a pump to regeneratively cool their heat shield through reentry. SERV, Chrysler's SERV project was like that. They never ended up doing it. Chrysler Corporation, the car company, was making spacecraft or proposed spacecraft designs in the 60s. It's, regenerative cooling expander. That's what it is. So that's the engine. The engine looks like a heat shield. It's an engine, and instead of the nozzle being shaped like a bell, the nozzle channels, so to speak, are shaped like a heat shield, and then there's a bunch of smaller engines in the place of one big bell-shaped nozzle. It's wild stuff. And like I said, their pad is pretty much done. And they're doing qual testing on the stage and acceptance testing on their first stage engines per that footage I just showed you. Oh, also at hot stages. That's the Nova rocket interstage right there. The rocket hot stages, which is pretty cool. That's pretty neat. Wait, hold up. Is that like a PC cooling technology? It's regenerative cooling, but yeah. Yeah, look at, ow, look at their pad. Dude, that's done. That pad's done, which is crazy to me. In Goalie, you said they painted the tower red. That's very, very based in Apollo Pilled. I'm very, very, very into that. That's a good idea. I can't design if that design is genius or insane. The guy that started Stoke Aerospace is a guy by the name of Andy Lapsa. Andy Lapsa is one of the best propulsion... best rocket, I'd say he's in top 5, rocket propulsion experts in the United States. Top 5. He's up there with Tom Mueller. Yeah, he's way up there. Andy Lapsa invented the BE-4 engine. He used to work for Blue. He invented the BE-4. The BE-4 is not a bad motor. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Also, anybody that spray paints Get Some onto the side of their upper stage and walk and roll on a transporting jig for the second stage engine section, I'm cool with it. Hey, Gamer Ike, what's going on? Trust me, they're fine with it. Yeah, I really hope that thing works, man. That's going to be something cool when it flies. It's going to be pretty sweet. You look clean today? Yeah. I've had a beard for a really long time, Ike. I think I'm good. Dude, I've had some form of facial hair for at least a decade. You know? Just do it different, screw it. Hey, Ryan, what's up, man? Does Stoke have the highest launch? Ooh, that sounded like a Hayabusa. Starbase Live. Does Stoke have the highest launch tower height, lightning tower height ratio ever? You know, they are kind of comically large, aren't they? Yeah. In relation to the rest of the GSE, it is kind of, I mean, they really don't want that thing getting hit by lightning, dude, huh? They really don't want it getting hit, I guess. How tall is Nova? Nova's actually not that big of a launch vehicle. It's It's a medium-duty launch vehicle, but it's fully reusable. Terran R, on the other hand, guys, Terran R is bigger than Falcon 9. That's why I say, like, you know, Gully, it's good you reminded me, LC-16. Terran R is a monster. That is a monster launch vehicle if they can get it to work. I still would argue that 13 engines, with 8 of them being able to have thrust vector control, is a, like, needlessly complicated design. Yeah, whatever. But if it works, Relativity will be able to push 23 tons with reuse, stage landing and reuse, which is Falcon 9 cannot do that. Falcon 9 can't do 23 and reuse the first stage. Terran R will be able to do that and bring the booster back to land. It is a monster. It is a monster launch vehicle. Like, it's pretty big. It's not as big as like New Glenn, but it's bigger than Falcon 9. It's somewhere in between. It's a big vehicle. Relativity's Lightning Tower is going to be almost 600 feet. That's as tall as LC-36's tower. When do you think Nova will have its maiden launch? Well, cousin, like I said, Stoke is doing all this qualification here. That's still very much a developmental engine. It has so many extra sensors on it. That's what all the spider webs that are connected to the engine are. Yeah, see, that's more DFI. Developmental flight instrumentation, but testing is live. That was on the 18th. That's Andy there. Engine's racking up time on both engine cells right there. Cool silo. Yeah. Engine hot fires. They're on structural qualification. It's going to be a little bit. This is a qualification article, which means a qualification article is something that you make in your space program when you think the design is pretty much good to go. You'd build out a qual article to figure out how to make the stage, right? Figure out all your, not figure it out, just basically validate your manufacturing process and then validate that the stage works with like cryo testing. SpaceX does that with their Super Heavy and Starship. If this thing passes qualification, you basically have carte blanche to start mass producing stages. The real thing is like, can Nova build out? Can they scale enough engines? I mean, Andy Lapsa isn't an idiot. He's super cool. Watch Tim's video with him. It's so good, man. Tim had a video of Stoke, and Andy showed him the goods, dude, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, we're still a little ways out if they're doing qual testing here, because they would have to build the flight article. They could be doing parallel development, so they could be making it, but I would hold off until your qual article is good before like you finalize the first flight stage. $36 doesn't have a lightning tower. What are you talking about? You know what I meant. So I was thinking the location of the KSC pads don't really make them much more protected from sea salt than a sea platform. The bigger issue is just heavy cargo access and exposing the assembly buildings as well as the pads. But what about a platform just offshore, just as far out from the shore as the pads are back from it, where you could still access the pad with a short causeway? I'm sure somebody that Aqualex, I'm going to choose my words very carefully here. So first of all, I like that idea. I think that's a good idea. That's smart. In Florida, kind of be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Hurricanes. That causeway would need to be very strong, and you'd be very susceptible to ocean currents, and it would be very susceptible to erosion. Now, if that wasn't a thing, what I was about to say is I'm sure somebody that wants to let everybody know how much they care about the environment but doesn't actually care about the environment would actually probably say something about that. I'd be more worried about hurricanes and erosion at that point, but yeah. Think of the fishes. Serious question. Is the launch market large enough for so many launchers of that weight class? Stoke is a medium-duty vehicle, Orange, and if they can prove reuse, that means they can hit higher flight cadence quicker than anybody else. Say, SpaceX notwithstanding. I think Nova's maiden launch will be sometime this year. I would say towards the end of the year if they're working on quals right now. As if we don't already build piers that withstand the weather already. Like I said, I don't think the erosion problem or building the causeway is anything that's insurmountable. I think limousine environmentalists would probably be your biggest issue at that point. But then again, it is Florida. Maybe they don't care. Why choose Nova over a Falcon 9? Falcon 9 isn't going to exist in another 10 years. That might have something to do with it. SpaceX is already getting away from doing high launch cadence with Falcon 9, guys. The Falcon 9 program is starting to ramp down. I'm sorry to tell you. This is why, last year or a couple of years ago, Elon basically threatened to just, retire the Dragon program over, I forget what it was over, some stupid political argument, which most of them are stupid. That does not give you an open invitation to start a stupid political argument in this stream. Please don't. But he's like, yeah, I'm gonna stop the Dragon program. I hate you, right? And everyone was like, oh my God, he's crazy. And I'm just kind of me sitting there going yeah, of course I think that's a hollow threat, but I think that's a hollow threat for a different reason than everybody else. I think it's a hollow threat because that was already happening. It's already ramping down. They stopped making Dragon capsules a couple of years ago. No, there's no new Dragon capsule has been made in years at this point. Actually, scratch that. I think they are working on one more. I think there's one. But, yeah. I think they do have one more. But that was because SpaceX decided they wanted one more Dragon. But it's not like there's an assembly line rolling out Dragon capsules. In fact, guys, if you really want to hear something nuts, there's only 4 or 5 Dragon capsules. Human rated. There's 3 resupply Dragon capsules, and that's it. It's less than 10 spacecraft. For Dragon 2. Remember Dragon 2, the DM2, the whole big deal? Oh, this is the future. There's only 10 of them. 10 if you include qualification articles, lost vehicles, etc., etc. Now, here's the secret. They actually work. Yeah, I know. The USDV is a bespoke one-off thing, Fuzzilla, from what I understand. What's the reuse count on these capsules? I believe one of the Dragons, I think Dragon Endeavor is up to 5 missions. Pretty sure. Yeah, Grace was, you know what? I gotta look it up because I forget it off the top of my head. Let's look at the rotation. There's 201. .202 was your qualification module and your structural test article. 203 was the ECS, the environmental control and life support. So that's ECLIS, excuse me. And they still use that as their training module. 204 was used on demo 1, and then that blew up on the pad. On a test stand at the Falcon at LC-13. 205 was the IFA. That was the one that did the in-flight abort. So Endeavor has 6 missions. Resilience has 4. 208 is a cargo Dragon with 5. 209 is up there right now on its 6th mission. Endurance has 4. 211 is the 3rd cargo. That is 3. Dragon Freedom has 5, and it's docked to the ISS right now for Crew 12. And then Grace was launched on the Axiom 4 mission, and it has 1 mission. And that, I believe that's it. Grace was the last one. X4 was a year ago. Yeah, okay, yeah. I forget if they were making another one, but I think that Grace was the last one. And that's what I mean. Falcon 9's ramping down. Dragon's ramping down. Well, not Dragon isn't ramping down. Dragon's just in operations. They're just not making any new ones. That doesn't mean that Dragon is going anywhere any particular time soon, but it's just, yeah, you turn the page. It's a new chapter in the book. The last space shuttle was made in 1992. Endeavour. Grace is the last Dragon capsule with up to 15 reuses per. So yeah, they have enough to keep sending stuff up into space for the foreseeable. That is more than enough to bridge the time to Starship's human rating certification. They could keep operating Falcon and Dragon for probably another 10 years. Probably another decade. Yeah, that's if the ISS still existed by that time. 10 years is enough for Starship to get a human rating certification in my mind. I think that's fair. I heard they ramped up Dragon parts with the extended crew contracts. Yeah, maybe. What are the chances of us seeing a cargo Starship dock to the ISS before its retirement? Low at this point in time, but you never know. I saw the Skylab test article, Foz. Yeah, that's really cool. The bad of them said the ISS will be ending considering it was built in my lifetime. I mean, Creation, yeah, it's going to suck to when it deorbits and we don't have a replacement because that's what looks likely at this point. But yeah, I don't know, whatever. It's a different time. We would have had one more, but it had a very bad day. I think that's why they built Grace, because C204 bit the dust on the test stand. Yeah, it's funny. Nitrogen tetroxide under the right pressurized components in a titanium tube can turn into a solid rocket booster. NTO backflow. Not great. Don't do that. You're looking particularly cute today. Oh, thank you, Guy. Have you seen this? Yeah. Dude, this is a Space News article from the other day that Jeff Faust posted. SpaceX has... You guys want to see something weird? Look at this. SpaceX has this thing called Skyfall, or Starfall, right here. And Starfall is... I mean, from what I can tell, that just looks like a... It's not a Dragon heat shield. It's a little bit smaller. But SpaceX is offering re-entry vehicles for payloads, scientific payloads that need to go up and down. They're like, I don't want to say that this looks like parts of an ODST drop pod, but that's the idea. Maybe not with people on board, but how do they plan on deorbiting these in a controlled way? With funness. I mean, Aqualex, in the article, the FAA documents describe Starfall as serving both in-space manufacturing and point-to-point cargo delivery. Point-to-point cargo delivery with the right vehicle behind it for steering on orbit. Yeah, if this thing has a service module on it with thrusters, should be able to get it pretty good. Turn old sats into ODST pods. Yeah, babe, Starship drop pods. The capsules could serve as a proliferated successor to the International Space Station to support a self-sustaining manufacturing economy in space. Did NASA announce canceling the new ISS core module? I haven't heard anything about that. I've heard whispers about it, one man, but we don't know for sure. I'll let you know as soon as I figure it out. Air Force and Space Force is already looking at making them resupply pods. Dude, that's actually super cool. Point-to-point cargo delivery. Yeah, this is their Amazon Prime competitor. In some weird timeline in the future, Yarg, there's a SpaceX gets into the package logistics game and beats Amazon at it. That would be pretty funny. Ironic. But yeah. Can you please explain the new core module? I've never heard of it. Lemon, what NASA tentatively wanted to do was launch a single core module for a successor to the International Space Station and then let commercial partners attach their modules to it so they could grow the commercial market rather than switching right to commercial low Earth orbit destinations. Personally, you guys want my honest opinion? I think that's a good idea. I think they should do it. I don't know if they're going to. I've heard that they don't want to do it anymore. I think you could use SLS to shoot something off like Skylab, a dry workshop, and you could do on-orbit science for way cheaper than you could with it, because the ISS is a complicated Rube Goldberg machine of a freaking space station. If we switch back to dry workshops, Saturn V style, but use SLS instead, you could do the same amount of science for not nearly the operational cost of the station in itself. And then if you designed your ConOps correctly, you could just have a Starship go pick it up and bring it back down when you need it, when you send it, when you want to send up another one. Or better yet, just have NASA buy a Starship, just buy a Starship wholesale, have NASA convert the payload interior into a small like ISS module, right, in the payload bay. Put an ISS module in the payload bay for scientific research, right? Have SpaceX send that Starship up into space, right? And then send a Dragon to it. And have a docking ring adapter to it. Payload bay doors open, right? Solar panels come out, and have a docking adapter, and have two of them like right next to each other, so two spacecraft could dock on the back side of a Starship, right? And then go, bingo, Bob's your uncle. And when that's done, just have it come back down. You could reuse it, you could refurbish it, you could take the thing out and put an upgraded version in. You could have 3 or 4 ISS modules like this, like basically Space Lab with the shuttle, but way better. SpaceX starts competing with DoorDash. Nice. Question: can a Starfall module fit through the Pez dispenser? Yes. It's close on the up-down, Aqualux. Close on the up-down. I'm not sure about 0.75, but width-wise, yeah, absolutely. I think you might be onto something, dude. That's a good observation. Oh, hey, Blue Origin is looking for a new director of New Glenn test and operations integration. What? Jake? What? Do you mean an entire SLS core stage? I mean, that would be, you could do it that way, Lemon. That's what we were doing. That's what we were going to pioneer in the Kerbal save that I was working on, which we will get back to soon. But yeah. Yeah, that kind of speaks volumes. How much could you shrink the fuel tanks, expand the usable space on Starship if you wanted to make it just a LEO station? Yeah, you could have SpaceX build a variant of Starship with the 1,000 cubic meter payload bay volume. That would do you right. In which case, you have 100 tons of mass to play with for your space station module. Crazy, right? Someone didn't do their job properly. That's right, Lava. Actually, Yarg, another thing that you could do, I just kind of thought of this, dudes. Starship has those, it's going to have the probe and drogue system to be able to dock so two starships can get near each other to refill. Consider this, dude. You have a starship, right? That's your Star Lab thing, right? And you want to resupply the station, right? This thing is just sitting up there for a long duration low Earth orbit mission, right? It's just sitting up there, right? And you want to resupply the dang thing, right? You just have another starship dock with the already existing docking system, and then you have a berthing mechanism go from cargo starship payload bay to crew starship space station. Yeah, just a berthing mechanism, just an expandable berthing mechanism that just connects the two together. And now you have two starships just kind of floating around there. Use it for resupply. Cargo starship, berthing mechanism detaches, cargo starship detaches, come back down. That's what I mean, man. That's all doable. With if this thing does what SpaceX wants it to do, that's all very doable. It's actually not really particularly difficult if you can make Starship do the whole docking thing. It's not a big deal. The Pez door is 0.8 by 7.3 meters. This is 0.75 by 3 meters. So Aqualex, two of these things can shoot out the Pez dispenser at once, side by side. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely on purpose, dude. I think you nailed it. You could fit two side by side. You could fit two stacks of two. So shoot two out. Pez dispenser grabs the other two, shoots them forward. Drop four more. Shoot two. Drop four more. Yeah, you could. That's nuts, dude. .5 meter of clearance, though? 0.5 meters is almost 2 feet, dude. That's like 8 inches of clearance on either side, man. That's more than enough. I mean, Mutter, like, there's always the chance that you gack the heat shield going out of the letterbox dispenser, but sad Varda noises, right? Yeah, I know. I think SpaceX might be onto something here. Blue has another new job posting. What is this about? Corrective and preventative action engineer. I'm sorry, what? As part of the Safety, Quality, and Mission Assurance team, you will support safety and mission success. In this role, you will ensure that when problems are identified, whether through non-conformances, mishap investigation, or root cause analyses, the solutions implemented are righteous, lasting, and traceable. You will drive resolution across multidisciplined teams, driving accountability to close corrective actions and ensuring that corrective actions translate into durable systematic improvements. You must have a passion for continuous improvement, a commitment to righteous follow-through, and the ability to work collaboratively across multidisciplined teams to drive sustainable solutions. Guys, ever seen Office Space? This is Bob Slidell. This is my associate Bob Horton. We are corrective and preventative action engineers. What would you say you do here? So what does it mean, Meat Snacky? That means that Blue has gotten... Okay, I'll give you the nice answer first. This means that Blue, in an effort to scale up New Glenn flight cadence, has gotten very, very big, very, very fast. And when you expand at a very high rate like that, especially with something like aerospace engineering, it is very difficult to keep the very meticulous nature that is needed for rocket science contiguous as your company expands. If you hire on 1,000 people, it's going to take some time to train those 1,000 people that bolt needs to be tightened to this exact torque spec and it needs to be documented. And if it's not, you're going to have a problem, right? Because something will blow up if you miss the torque spec by like 1 Newton meter. That's the difference between something blowing up and something working with rocket science. Like, the tolerances are very, very tight. If I had to guess, Blue is doing this obviously as a result of the 7x2 explosion, the NG4 disaster, but they're doing it because they've tried to expand the company. I mean, Blue is 14,000 strong at this point. It's a big company, dude. That's real big. They're 14,000 strong at this point, and it's hard to keep that meticulous nature that's needed for rocket science contiguous as you expand. That's tough to do. So, a corrective and preventative action engineer is somebody that's basically going to implement continuity through the giant scale of the company. I do not envy the person that gets that job. That's going to be... That's going to be a thing. That's going to be a very difficult job. It's going to be very tough to enforce accountability across the entire New Glenn supply chain. I'd be 100% honest with you. I would do that job, but only if I was making like 500 G's a year. I'm not even kidding. That job would require 60, 70-hour work weeks easily. Literally, your phone is glued to your ear because you're always going to be on the phone trying to drive accountability across the entire supply chain. That is, and it's not just the supply chain, it's processing, it's qualification, it's testing regime. Like, that is, I would only do that job if I was making well into the 6 figures. That is an extremely difficult job. Did it list the salary? No. $50-60 hours a week is part-time for you. I'd do it for that amount of money, Jib. That would be... Yeah, I would love this job, dude. Kerbal has traumatized my brain into really... Guys, like... And I know that, like, actual rocket science isn't exactly like this, but it kind of is. It has to be right. There is no... I've talked to you guys about this. It has to be right. If you don't do the same exact thing every time in the exact same order, doing the exact same process, you're introducing variables into your production pipeline. If you do that, that usually results in an explosion depending on how bad the thing is, right? Could be a QC problem, could be an engine blowing up on a test stand, could be someone dropping a COPV and blowing up ship 36 and booster 18. It's not just Blue that has this problem. But guys, you have to have verifiable continuity across the board. If you don't have some type of accountability system or documenting corrective actions, so anything from like tightening a bolt, put it on a New Glenn interstage, to you know, how long did you test this BE4? How much has this been qualified for flight regimes? Is every BE4 tested? Propulsion, like going anything from propulsion to avionics to structures to like enforcing accountability across that whole thing, dude. It has to be right. It has to be perfect. It can't be wrong. If you do it the exact same way every time, physics will reward you with the exact same result. Thing is, it's just very difficult to get the exact same result. That's tough. It's a tall ask with rocket science. Not as easy as it seems. Hard started and blew out your combustion chamber and still flew. Ever seen a rocket engine fly on an injector plate? That's not great, Snackless. Identify your root cause and fix it. Hey, Viscosity. Oh, goodness, being in supply chain management and logistics, you're speaking my language. I know about logistics pretty good, Digital, and I know about it from workers and resources, you know, if you want to look at it at a macro scale. But I did work on a loading dock, dude. Yeah, I've worked in logistics before in this place called Reality that I don't like going very often. Starfall is also for Falcon 9. It'll fit inside a Falcon 9 payload fairing. You just stack them on top of each other. Haas is forklift certified. Gobble. Yep. Forklift certified. Big Joe certified. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scissor lift. Oh, yeah, dude. Your boy did all that. We call that standardized work with the correction coming out of FMEA. The industry has no margin. This industry has no margins. Yep. Yeah. There's no standardization in rocket science right now, Bob. There's nothing. People are... Every design is quite literally shoot from the hip. It's like... It reminds me of airplanes in the 30s. Where, you know, oh, Jim Bob McGurk has the plane that has 6 wings on the side, and that plane flies better than everybody else's. It's like, what? It's not like it is now with aviation, right? Like, 6 wings coming out the side to make the plane fly better. Like, weird stuff like that. And somebody came along with this weird mono wing design. I don't know how that plane is only going to fly with 1 wing. If you put more wings on your plane, it'll fly better. Like, we're very much in that era. There's really no standardization here. Elon is trying to change that. Blue is also trying to change that as well, but they're working on it. They're working on it. They'll get it, dude, but yeah, they're... You know, you can look at that job posting, dudes, and be like, oh my goodness, these people are clowns. They have no idea. Okay, you try enforcing standardization across a 14,000 strong company with rocket science, okay? Most of those 14,000 employees being new hires. Like people with not much prior experience in the industry because the industry was never this big. You might have people coming from aviation. You might have people coming from auto shops. You might have people coming from the aviation industry, like A&Ps and stuff. The A&Ps know the process, but, you know, what's the process? It hasn't been figured out yet. Like, this is... I wouldn't look at that that job posting and be like, Blue has no idea what they're doing. I would look at that and say they're trying to scale, and they're trying to enforce continuity across scaling. Scaling and trying to mass produce rockets, that's not an easy task. SpaceX has trouble with that. Ship 36, Booster 18. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to make a rocket production line, a rocket mass production line. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy task. But who gets it right and who invents the standardization, man, is going to be very well off. Let me put it that way, if we ever get to that point. So, I can't get half a dozen drafters to use the same standards in CAD. Oh. Just wait for the no-wing design. Yeah, that wasn't the Wright brothers. That was the Wrong brothers, Delpha. The Wrong brothers invented the no-wing design. Actually, technically, NASA invented the no-wing design. It's called a lifting body. But, the Wrong brothers. And on that bombshell, I think it's time to end. Some of us aren't as smart as you give us credit for, EJ. Dan, those are your words, not mine, all right? I know some dudes, they would make it happen. This is their kind of thing, not me, though. Yeah, I don't know. Bob, I would only do that job if I was making like 500 Gs. At least 500 Gs a year. That is a very difficult job. And I like continuity and standardization. The problem is that I would yell at people when the numbers don't match. I'd be like Bill Lumberg. Looks like you tightened that bolt to 20 Newton meters when it should have been 19. Oh yeah, I will fix it, and I already know the process. And I'd be like, yeah, because, we had an engine blow up on the test stand the other day because you didn't tighten that. If you just come in on Saturday, yeah, we got to play catch up. People be like, I hate that guy. Sometimes that's what it takes. Actually, yeah, Aguilex, yeah, there you go. Yeah, man. All right, guys. Not gonna work here anymore. Gone. All right, dudes. That's gonna do it for me. I'm gonna go check on Bree, see what she's up to. I've been kind of doing these shorter streams just for the time being while my wife recovers from surgery. So, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Should probably start 1, 2 in the afternoon. Guys, I played Battlefield today and the flick was good. I was making the shots. So, yeah. It's going to be hot again tomorrow, so we'll play some games. I don't know what we're going to play. It won't be Battlefield. We'll play a STEM game tomorrow. I'm not sure what though, but we'll figure it out. So, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys all tomorrow, and have a good night.